Welcome to the Vault XL. Thank you for joining me. This commentary is pertaining to Sarah Boone and Leilani Simon. Two-part live. TV series for the week, Under the Bridge. It was my Sunday suggestion. Check it out. Now playing on Hulu. And Halloween, one of the franchises that derived from 2018, where we have the lead character living out in the middle of nowhere, and Michael Myers escapes as an older man from the sanitarium to go find his long lost sister. It's a very interesting debacle, but I'm bringing you most of the Halloween franchises for the obvious reasons because it is October. So feel free to go back on my community page to check out the other Halloween installments and other movie suggestions. Once again, Under the Bridge is my TV series suggestions, 8 episodes now playing on Hulu, and Halloween from 2018. Hello, Billy Jones. Thank you for joining me. Let's get down to business, everybody. First commentary is pertaining to Sarah Boone. She's decided to take the witness stand in her own defense.
I zipped him up. We thought it was funny, and we're joking about how he was, I guess, small enough to fit inside of the suitcase.
A game of hide and seek turned deadly, or a plot to murder her boyfriend. Sarah Boone took the stand today to defend her actions. This after deputies say she left her boyfriend locked inside this suitcase for hours until he ultimately died.
Boone is using the battered spouse defense to justify her actions. West News' Justin Schecker is live outside the Orange County Courthouse, and testimony is just wrapped up for the day, Justin.
That's correct, and Sarah Boone just finished more than 4 hours of testimony within the last hour. Prosecutors had her come off the stand for a demonstration on that suitcase. They say she left zipped for hours with her boyfriend inside.
The defense would call Sarah Boone.
More than 4 years after her arrest and now represented by her 9th attorney, Sarah Boone told an Orange County jury her side of the story in the suitcase murder trial.
Did you believe that he could breathe in there?
Yes.
Did you ever believe he could die in there?
No.
The medical examiner testified on Monday that George Torres Jr. died from suffocation in February 2020 after he was left in the zipped suitcase for 11 hours. Boone says the couple had been drinking and playing a game of hide and seek when her boyfriend got inside.
I zipped him up. We thought it was funny, and we're joking about how he was, I guess, small enough to fit inside of the suitcase.
Boone also told the jury she became fearful what Torres Jr. would do to her if he got out of the suitcase.
Were you afraid?
Terrified is more of the word.
Boone recalled waking up the next morning and unzipping the suitcase after realizing Torres Jr. was still inside.
I was screaming, George, 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 and I was shaking him, and I pulled him out, and I stretched him out flat, and then I began instantly trying to do CPR.
Despite pushback from the state, the judge allowed Boone's attorneys to show photos of how Torres Jr. injured her in the past.
And he pushed me into the metal door, and then I fell back, and he got his knees on top of me, on my arms here, so I was pinned down, and was starting to strangle me, and hit my head up against the metal closet over and over and over and over.
During cross-examination, the prosecutor pressed Boone on her decision to not unzip the suitcase after Torres Jr. is heard in a video she recorded saying, "I can't breathe."
I wanted him to try to understand how I felt, so maybe he could progress in being a better person.
And Sarah Boone's defense team plans to call additional witnesses to the stand. They hope to help prove their case that she was justified because of the battered spouse syndrome defense. The suitcase murder trial continues tomorrow morning. Live outside the Orange County Courthouse, I'm Justin Schecker, Wesh 2 News.
Well, justified, battered woman syndrome. Weigh in. I didn't know that there was a child involved in her life, so I didn't get the gist if the child stayed at the house with her or came to visit. But that's even more harrowing to know that a child would be in her custody or visiting while this fiasco was going on with Jorge. Seems to me that both were inebriated from time to time or often, and that's no good for a child. Whether you get crunk, lash out, beat each other up. The pictures in this video that I have brought you content, you can see a black eye. And when I mean black eye, I don't mean no damn blue eye. I mean a black eye. It's black. And I don't think she did that to herself. Now, I'm not here to excuse her behavior with what she had done, but that's the latest information that people are starting to question. You know, who is Sarah Boone? Was this an act of revenge or what? What was it? Because I think she was numb. You can see that in her testimony. People are talking about that as well. She's very solemn. She's quiet. She's acting a donkey's ass with these lawyers. She wanted to, I guess, run the show. But when you see her in court, she's very solemn, blinks a lot, squints like she needs glasses. Don't know if she's putting on or what. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm not here to argue anything about Sarah Boone or anybody else. I have decided that I'm not even about to go down that road. Like I just said to somebody in the comment box, baby, calm down. Because in the end, nobody told him to get in the damn suitcase. Let's just start from the beginning now. You're talking about two abusive people, two people who fight each other. Somebody's fighting the other one back. Somebody's beating somebody up. Somebody's staying. You're talking about drug use as well. We're also talking about a child. We're also talking about pets. Didn't know she had pets. It's too much going on. But see, it was going to be a D-Day either way. Whether it was a suitcase or somebody's going to get hit in the head with a bat, curtain rod, choked out. It was going to be something. Now, information that she was violent with her ex-husband. I saw some comments about that, under Vinnie Politan's video. Well, she choked her husband. She did this. She choked him, whoever. I don't really care. You know why? Because the point is you got to know when to bow out. Somebody's got to bow out. He should have bowed out. She should have bowed out. So whether it was a suitcase, it was going to be something bad anyway. And she had to have known that. You can't stay with a person that one gets crunk on alcohol and drugs and they act out. So to say, oh, well, his other girlfriend said he didn't act this certain way. Well, he has an arrest record. He's dead. God rest his soul, but he has an arrest record for fighting this lady. So I'm not here to say who provoked whom. The point is you have a solemn choice to leave. These two didn't just meet each other and he ended up in a suitcase. You're talking about years of people fighting. So somebody was going to get hurt either way, suitcase or no suitcase. She's sloppy drunk, he's sloppy drunk. Now, how did it really go? Because I don't believe she forced him into a suitcase. You got to prove it. You got to prove it. Now, what looks bad is the obvious. She's talking and taunting him. But now you hear her saying, well, I wanted to talk to him in a way I couldn't normally talk to him. So one could say, that's an interesting plan. The problem with that is she didn't unzip him. But then her defense is, well, I didn't unzip him because I knew he would probably try to hurt me. But then one would say, well, then why the hell would he even get in the suitcase? He's known to be violent. Why would he want to get in there? Why would he even trust her to unzip him? See, there's 1,000 questions you can ask on behalf of both parties. You and this chick really don't get along. Would it really make sense to get into a suitcase? But then if he's drunk and he's high, he wouldn't care. If he's silly like that, I don't know him. But some woman wants to argue in the chat about, oh, she forced him. Come on now. Just stop the bullshit. Nobody forced him to get in a damn suitcase. With what? What did she force him with? If it's a matter of her using a weapon, she could have just shot him, beat him over the head. We don't need a suitcase and I want revenge. Just saying. But was it? Was it just a mere suggestion, or she suggested it to see if he would stupidly get in there? He got in there. She played these reindeer games, tossing the suitcase around. You hear that in testimony. Let's read a little bit of that. See, in the end, you're never going to know. That's the problem with certain types of cases. You're never going to know what was said because he's not here to tell you his side of the story. You just have a dead man in a suitcase and her stupidly filming taunting him about cheating on her and how she felt like she couldn't breathe and blah, 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 with him cheating on her. That's all you got. And then her calling her ex-husband, which that didn't look good. That didn't look good at all. Why call him? Because allegedly you found him the next morning. So you don't really know how it went. She could have actually laid there right on the sofa and watched him suffocate to death in the suitcase. She didn't have to go upstairs. We don't know that she gave him CPR. That's her version. See, you don't know. I'm just going to speak for me, which that's all I can speak on. I'm not them, and I ain't getting in no suitcase. I don't care if I'm 103 pounds. I'm not ever going to climb in a suitcase, period. And I don't know why he would even do it. Why do it? So what I was questioning, did they ever play this game before him getting in the suitcase? Because I just don't see anybody rationally. This is something a child would do. These are things that children would do, climb in a suitcase, climb in a tub, put the lid on, climb in a chest. These are childish games. That's why I'm wondering if they've done it before, or she just thought, you know what? I'm sick of this MF. I got a good game to play with him. Let me see if he'll climb in this suitcase. And then you got to ask yourself, why was the suitcase out? Why was it out? Why was it out in the first place? Yes, I question the hide and go seek ideology. Because the purpose of hiding and seeking is what it is. You go hide, I seek you out. Vice versa. Very strange story. But as I said in this, under Vinnie Politan's video, have we misconstrued Miss Sarah? Somebody got offended. Who are we? Speak for yourself. I'm like, you know what? Calm down. I said what I had to say. I'm not apologizing for what I said. I don't know what happened between these two. I know they had some real problems. And neither should have been with the other one. And that it was going to be a D-Day without a suitcase. If you look at the pictures of her eye and her foot swollen, you had to have known there was going to be a bad day of reckoning on its way. So somebody was going to get hurt and somebody was going to end up in the cemetery. That's just common sense. I think she was just angry, vengeful, mad at the world. This is my way of getting back at him. Oh yeah, I'm going to make him listen now. She might be telling the truth about that. He gets in a suitcase, now I can say whatever I want to him. He can't get out. He can't lash out. But she also had to have known that you saying anything, whether it's cursing or whatever, however you word it, he is in there and he's suffocating, and yeah, he ain't going to be too happy. So the flip side as well, I was worried about my safety, him coming out and harming me. So then that's kind of contradictory, because you can't have one and then the other. He climbs in, then he's ready to get out. You don't open it. Well, yeah, he's going to get upset because he wants out. And he really ain't going to want to hear nothing you have to say because he can't breathe. Whew. What a mess. Let's hear what they have to say about this suitcase business. At first, they thought him fitting inside a suitcase was funny until it wasn't. Sarah Boone, 47, is on trial for second-degree murder in the February 2020 death of her boyfriend, 42-year-old Jorge Torres Jr., after she allegedly zipped him up in a suitcase and left him to die. On Tuesday, she took the witness stand in her own defense. Okay. Wearing a dark blazer and dark pants, she described without much emotion throughout her testimony how the two had been drinking for much of the day in question, talking on the back porch of their Florida townhome near Orlando, putting together a 1,000-piece puzzle and completing art projects when Torres wanted to play a game of hide and seek by saying, "Tag, you're it." Boone ran upstairs to hide in the shower, but Torres never came looking. As she walked downstairs, she saw Torres enter a large suitcase. Boone testified. She zipped him up as a joke, she said. So basically she's saying he went in to hide inside of the suitcase. We were laughing about it, and it was just strange that he was small enough to fit in there. Now, allegations are that he weighed about 103 pounds. That's very small for a human being, especially a male. He basically had no weight on him. Now, they said he stood 5'2". So you're talking about a very little guy. He's childlike at 5'2". I don't know her height, but he was a small person, short and small as far as weight. So once again, they're laughing about him getting in the suitcase and how small he was to fit in there. Boone said she rolled the suitcase around the home. And we had information about that they thought the suitcase had got turned over a few times. So now here we have her saying she moved the suitcase around. So was she moving it around deliberately to hurt Mr. Torres? Beating it, pushing it, making him get sick? So how was she moving it around? Upright? Or just pushing it over, then sitting it back up, pushing it over, sitting it back up? What was she actually doing to the suitcase? She says, at the time, it was funny. We were joking and laughing about it. But then Boone decided it was time to teach Torres a lesson. Torres had previously been abusive toward Boone, slashing her in the leg with a steak knife, slamming her head against a metal door, and hitting her in several different incidents. She said Boone wanted to take the time to talk to him. I have the ability to speak to him in a manner I ordinarily would not have the ability to do, Boone said. At this point, Torres began to struggle to breathe and started to beg her to let him out. She refused. Instead, she started mocking him and reminding him of the times he beat her up. Video of the incident showed. Not on video, she claims, are Torres' threats that he was going to effing in her when he got out of the suitcase. It got very heated very quickly, she said. Now, some are going to say, well, why didn't she have that on camera? Video of him threatening her. Torres was able to get a hand out of the suitcase, calling it a split-second reaction. Boone said she grabbed her son's baseball bat and hit his hand until he put it back inside. She said she left him in the suitcase because she was terrified he would get out and attack her. Boone testified she didn't think he would die and thought he would be able to get out on his own. Well, see, most people are going to think this is still contradictory, because if he can get his hands out, to some point, you should have known that he would be able to get out, and he probably would hurt you because you didn't open the suitcase. You're entitled to your opinion. Once upstairs, she fell asleep. She awoke around 11 a.m. and went downstairs around 1 p.m. Looking around for Torres, she came across the suitcase. She remembered she left them in there. I don't think I ever experienced anything like that before, she testified. I guess I was aghast. Boone pulled Torres out. He was purple and gurgling, she testified. So was he gurgling or was he already deceased when she opened the suitcase? I immediately unzipped the suitcase and was like, Jorge, Jorge, Jorge. And I was shaking him, she said. Boone called her ex-husband, who told her to call 911. Torres was declared dead. So this is where she calls the husband. Well, the way they were repeating it, I thought she called him the night she put him in the suitcase. Very interesting. So why would she call her ex-husband? See, that would lead you to believe he was already dead when she called the ex-husband. Because this is what a lot of people do when they panic in a crime. They call somebody else. They call after they've shot them, stabbed them, and the person's probably already dead or on their last breath. Was he already deceased when she called the ex-husband? This is very bizarre to me. Okay. So once again, she called her ex-husband, who told her to call 911. Torres was declared dead. So who declared him dead? Just saying. Her defense attorney walked her through some of the previous incidents of abuse, showing jurors photos of her injuries as part of her battered spouse syndrome defense. Asked why she didn't leave him, she said she hoped Torres would improve his behavior and that she and Torres were two bodies with one soul. I love him to this day, she said. Wow. During cross-examination, prosecutors pressed her previous testimony from a neighbor's account that they said they heard a loud thud the night of the murder, suggesting she may have pushed Torres down the stairs while he was in the suitcase. Assistant State Attorney William J. also questioned why Boone felt the need to teach Torres a lesson while inside the luggage. Boone responded, there was no lesson to be learned, but she wanted him to know how she felt about his abuse in hopes he become a better person. Jay also had Boone demonstrate to the jury how she zipped up the suitcase and showed Torres hand placement when he tried to get out. Did you do anything to help him escape from the predicament that you zipped him up in? Jay asked. Boone said no. Earlier Tuesday, the prosecution rested its case. Wow, paving the way for Boone's testimony. The trial continues on Wednesday. So earlier Tuesday, which is today, it says here the prosecution rested its case. Wow. Law and crime is the source for this information. So I don't know what to say after that. Who will they call next to testify? I would expect some people who weren't in tune to she and he. Character witnesses, people who will speak on behalf of Mr. Torres. My understanding is he stayed in trouble a lot. She had to bond him out of jail, or she chose to bond him out, excuse me. So obviously she cared enough for him. She used to bond him out of jail. Naturally, nobody put a gun in her head and told her to get him out. So maybe she had some sick relationship with him, some sick love for Mr. Torres at one point. And then one day she decided that I got him right where I want him now. That's why I said, did she ask him to get in the suitcase deliberately so she could say whatever she wanted to say and leave him in there? What is the truth? Did they play hide and seek a lot? Did they play hide and seek? And he had done this before, climbing a suitcase and she opened it up. And the fact that she was saying he was small enough to get in there. Well, he's a small guy. He could crawl probably in anything. When you look at the suitcase in the courtroom, it's different than as you were seeing it on the on her phone video, as Vinny Politan spoke about it on his channel earlier today or this evening. You look at the suitcase and you're looking, you're intently looking like, wow, a human was in there. They rolled it in upright, sat it down. The top part is, more bulky you can stuff more things in the suitcase and zip it up, of course. But it's still hard to believe a human was inside of there. It's also hard to believe a human would willingly crawl inside of a suitcase. Why would you do that? I don't understand that. But people do crazy things. And we know this from all the horrible incidents of people doing things and end up dead or seriously injured. They were under the influence of narcotics or alcohol or both. You hear this all the time. Somebody fell off a roof. Somebody fell off a balcony. Somebody fell off a bridge. Whether they wanted to jump, kill themselves, or however it went, it was a fatality. This is why drinking and drugs don't mix. They don't mix on their own because they will have an adverse effect on you. And people do things they would not normally do if they were sober. So it wouldn't shock me they would crawl in a suitcase. One of them would crawl in a suitcase because, as I just said, people do wacky things when they're under the influence. But look at the price that was paid for crawling in that suitcase. Let's go back to Monday for Leilani Simon. Thank you for joining me. There was a tense exchange in a courtroom in the Leilani Simon trial as the prosecution and the defense continued to clash about one aspect of the case. The prosecution and the defense still at odds over evidence of a sexual relationship between Simon and her drug dealer. Last week, Judge Stokes ruled there couldn't be any mention of the relationship at all in front of a jury. Judge Stokes ultimately changed her ruling, saying a line of questioning by the defense opened up that can of worms. The defense questioned whether Simon's boyfriend was irritated that she was late coming back with their drugs. The prosecution saying that questioning opened the door to what Simon was really doing, having an affair. So was there documentation in her text messages that she went and purchased drugs for she and her boyfriend, Danny Youngkin? Or was she going to get drugs for them and also screw the dope dealer? Which is it? Wow, what a mess. The defense didn't want any mention of the relationship admitted, saying it's not relevant and just makes Simon look bad. Well, she already looks bad. Hello. She did that on her own. Sitting there looking like a little pig in a sweater. Oink, oink. That's personal. Has nothing to do with anybody else. Nobody told her to kill her kid. Nobody told her to kill her kid. We're going to chop all that up here in a minute. Defense didn't want this mentioned, this relationship. So I'm trying to figure out, why did the judge decide to let him come in the courtroom? Naturally, it was not heard, his testimony, nor was he seen in the courtroom. Why? Because it was so salacious, the text messages and this so-called sexual relationship. Well, that's why it's sexual. Nobody said it was going to be nice on paper, what people do. Just saying. The prosecution saying it's relevant to show how broken her relationship with then boyfriend Daniel Youngkin was, and I do agree with that. The prosecution moved money to put the drug dealer and a family member of his on the stand. The defense saying that they weren't notified of that plan until 9 p.m. Sunday night. It's bad faith at this point. If they had thought they were going to call him as a witness, they've had 2 years to have him on a witness list, which they are admitting they didn't do. So the proper remedy to that is to exclude the witnesses, said Simon's defense attorney, Martin Hilliard. These particular witnesses were interviewed by law enforcement back when this case was being investigated. That was provided to the defense. They're aware of these witnesses. There's a whole long line of cases about unfair surprise. There is no unfair surprise here or prejudice to the defendant, said Chatham County DA's office Assistant District Attorney Jenny Parker. Judge Stokes ultimately ruled that the 2 witnesses will be able to testify. Second week of testimony. The state is still laying out their case once again, taking aim at Simon's credibility on Monday. New video shows Simon admitting to investigators that she lied about her whereabouts the morning of Quinton's disappearance. Monday, they began to break down what was covered in a more than hour-long interview he did with Leilani Simon, October 12, 2022. In it, Simon began to change course on some of the answers she had previously given to law enforcement. This was the first interview where she admitted to several things on October 4th when Quinton went missing, including using drugs and not meeting a person who had previously been included in her alibi. The first change was the admission of a significant drug use on the night of the 4th and the morning of the 5th, the interaction with Miss Melissa Bray, and the Orgel story, where over the course of the interview, she disclosed and agreed that that actually did not happen. Then we obtained significant information regarding her purpose in the trailer park that night and throwing away trash, said FBI Special Agent Brad Snyder. So here you have her being broken down by law enforcement to finally admit there was never any Orgel, any exchange of anything while she and this woman never talked to her, never met her, never did anything. She didn't step outside. The allegation that the woman smoked crack. Oh, she took it to the whole next level. But this is what people do who lie. So you see, I won't doubt that Leilani lied even when there was a live baby. Stay woke. Because drug addicts lie, do they not? Because they're coveting SHIT. So they're going to be liars. I don't know too many people who got on drugs that were actually truthful. Come on, let's keep it real now. Okay. In the interview, Simon admitted she was feeling the effects of her drug use that night. And if she did do something to Quinton, she doesn't remember. So now it changes. I don't remember. I don't remember being in the car. Crying. If I did something to him, I don't remember doing it to him, said Simon. You may recall Simon claiming to investigators that she went to the Chevron station next to the Zelia Mobile Home Plaza the morning of October 5th, 2022, to get Orgel from a friend she referred to as Misty. New video entered into evidence by the prosecution shows Simon changing her story. Snyder testified that it wasn't until a week after Quinton was reported missing that Simon admitted to getting high off cocaine and Percocet that night. Video showed Snyder and another agent pushing back on Simon's claim that she went to the Chevron station to meet her friend Misty for Orgel. So after the child went missing a week later, she admitted that she got high off of cocaine and Percocet. Wow. After the agents tell Simon they talked to the friend and she denied the exchange ever happened, Simon admitted she never made contact with the friend and then said she stopped at the dumpsters in the mobile home park to throw away old shrimp pasta. She described how she threw the trash away to the agent, saying she opened the trash bag to take one final look at its contents before throwing it away. Wow. So how big was the bag? Because if it's a store bag that you order food from a restaurant, a 2-year-old couldn't fit in there. So how does she dispose of the child? In what capacity? A big shopping bag, a tub, what? I'm curious. Do you think that that's something common that people do? Is before throwing their trash away, they open it up and look at it and see what they're about to throw away? Asked Snyder. It's a very good question. In his testimony, Snyder said he could tell the questioning made her uncomfortable and she would act erratic. Her demeanor was inconsistent, erratic. The responses I would characterize as shallow emotional responses. And that on a dime, there would be crying with no tears. And then moments later, without really any transition, it would go to a normal conversation. Well, we've heard of that quite frequently with people. Cry on cue and then start back talking as if they weren't just crying 20 seconds ago. Lord have mercy, have we seen that? The toy was found on the floor in the Simon home, and this is the Mickey Mouse that they're talking about, that I believe she told was missing with the child, but yet when they came into interrogation, take pictures, Mickey Mouse never left the house. How about that? Testimony Monday also verified that Simon's phone was located at her drug dealer's house before midnight and at Azalea Mobile Home Plaza after midnight. Wow. So she went to the dope dealer's house before midnight and at the Azalea home after. So she went to see the dope dealer first and then dumped her kid. So then you got to ask, which came first, second, and third? Say, whoa. Where was the baby when she went to the dope dealer's house? Was he already dead in the truck? Bingo card. Imagine that. Kill the baby, put the baby in the truck, ride around, go to the dope dealer's house, score some dope, have some sex, and then jump back in your truck and dump your baby off. And then go back home to go to sleep. Well, now, can't make this up. Also confirming that neither her boyfriend or brother's phone moved at all in the early morning hours. Prosecutor Tim Dean asked Snyder why, of the 3 adults in the house, when Quinton went missing, investigators ended up focusing on Simon specifically. Snyder responded that it was because she was the only one who continually lied to investigators. Graphic testimony in the Leilani Simon trial Monday as prosecutors continue to make the case that the mother's responsible for killing her 20-month-old son Quinton and disposing of his body in a dumpster. WTOC has been following the case since day one and had been in the courtroom the entire trial. We have a look at the testimony of an FBI agent who says they suspected the worst the day Quinton first went missing. Imagine that. Day one, they already suspected foul play. We do want to warn you, some viewers may find this to be disturbing. Special Agent Savannah Solomon from the FBI detailed her interactions with Simon throughout the search for Quinton and the moments she said didn't sit right with her. She showed me her Hawaiian symbol tattoo about the waves going up and down, and she wanted to get a tattoo in honor of Quinton, said Solomon. Now, that would be suspicious to someone because this is something people usually do when a person has been already what is the word I'm looking for? Been told that they're dead. Let me say that again. People usually get a tattoo when the person is already dead. I said that. That conversation taking place the day Simon first reported her son missing. Now, this is day one. She's saying she wants to get a tattoo to honor her son. Well, can we find him first? Damn. Wow, didn't know that. See the things you learn when trial comes around, the conversations people have. Was anybody yet talking about Quinton being dead? Asked Chatham County DA's office. Prosecutor Tim Dean, we suspected it with an investigative team, but it had not been discussed outside of the investigative team, said Solomon. It wasn't until a week later that agents informed Simon they believed Quinton to be dead and that they were confident they would find his body at the waste management landfill. Now imagine somebody coming up to you saying, hey, I think your kid's in the landfill. Now wouldn't you ask, well, why would you say that? So, Leilani, what did you think when they confronted you with that information? Because you know you were at that mobile park and you know what you put in that damn garbage can. But you weren't going to let on. You rode this donkey ride to the end, did you not? I ain't never going to tell. I ain't never going to tell I killed my baby. I put my baby in that damn dumpster. Now look how it worked out for you. Wow, wow, wow. She said he wasn't in the bag, but it was hard to characterize. It wasn't shot, which was the most surprising thing of it, said Solomon. She said he wasn't in the bag. So what's she trying to say? The bag she threw in the garbage, which was supposed to be pasta, shrimp pasta, he wasn't in it. Well, I don't see how he could fit in a store-bought bag anyway. I'm just saying. I'm confused. After that landfill search commenced, WTOC conducted an exclusive interview with Simon, parts of which were shown in court on Monday. I'm not running, I'm not hiding, said Simon. If something does come up that I'm at fault, I'll take myself to that police station. You all remember that statement 2 years ago? Oh, I remember like it was yesterday. And that's when Billy Joe turned her head and bawled because she knew she was sitting there with a liar and a killer. She knew she was standing there with a liar and a killer. Solomon testified that after part of the interview had aired, Simon texted her and started casting blame on her then boyfriend, Daniel Youngkin. I'm not lying for Danny anymore. The reason why my story about Orgel and Bleep didn't make sense is because Danny told me to say that. Read text from Simon to Solomon. I am innocent of this. He was the last one to see Quinton. Court will resume at 9:30. This was when they wrote this content yesterday for Tuesday, which Tuesday's already passed. We're on Tuesday now. WTOC will continue providing updates in the courtroom, and you can view a timeline of events in the case below. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow, wow. So we have information of a relationship, lies told by her finally admitting that she was at the mobile park, her mentioning something about the child wasn't in the bag. So I'm going to say it again. How was he murdered, and what did she put the child in the garbage can? Now, the defense is going to say other cities dumped trash at the landfill, even places a little far away. How far away, I don't know, but one city was mentioned, and basically they're going to try to say the child was what? So you got to make it make sense because you have to start at ground zero, and ground zero is the house. If nobody broke in, there's no movement on the security doors and the sensors until 9 a.m, then how did the child get out? So then you're going to say what? Oh, well, he was old enough to open the door and walk out. So then you're going to say what? Somebody kidnapped him and took him somewhere in the city, jurisdiction, the county, had their way with a little boy, and then dumped them in somebody's dumpster somewhere in America, Georgia, And then that's how the child got to the landfill. How about that? We learned that she started messing around with this dope dealer a little ways up, weeks or so before the child was murdered. Very interesting. Very interesting. So why did she start messing around with him? Didn't feel loved by her boyfriend. So let me start messing around with this older guy. I didn't know the lover was older. He was old enough to be her father. Because I do believe at the time of this murder, Billy Joe was what, 47, if I'm not mistaken? So he was 1 year older than, well, he's 48 now, but you understand what I'm saying? This is just, this is all bizarre to me. The jury has now heard from 26 witnesses, over the 40 plus witnesses that will take the stand. It was also revealed that the list is changing, with the judge allowing for some new additions today. And this was uploaded at 2:37 p.m. Wow. So who's new to testify in this case? Week 2 of testimony opened with 3 witnesses from various FBI field offices, all involved in trying to find out what happened to 20-month-old Quinton Simon the morning of October 5th, 2022. FBI Special Agent Brad Snyder was on the stand for most of the day. He conducted numerous preliminary interviews with Leilani, her brother, Paul, and her boyfriend, Daniel Youngkin. The defense pressed Snyder on that upon cross-examination, highlighting inconsistencies in interviews Snyder conducted with Youngkin. Before that, however, Snyder seemingly explained why Youngkin wasn't being looked at as a suspect. Okay. Why did the investigation ultimately focus on the defendant, Hilliard asked. Ultimately, there were 3 individuals in that house, 3 adults in that house, and of those 3 adults, there was only one that continued to lie to us throughout the course of the investigation, Snyder said. The state also called Special Agent Savannah Solomon, who talked about the day Quinton's remains were found in a landfill. There's also been a shakeup in the witness list. Judge Tammy Stokes allowed Simon's alleged former drug dealers, Craig and Tim Weston, to join the witness list of the behest of the state. So Craig and Tim, were they brothers or their son and father? Who are these people? The defense argued for their exclusion. Hilliard referred to the text messages that were ruled to be admissible evidence last week by Judge Stokes between Simon and Craig Weston, which they state proves their sexual relationship. The court's ruling was those text messages were admissible, Hilliard said. That doesn't mean because the state changes its mind 24 hours later and gets to start adding witnesses. If we do that, trials never get finished. Interesting. It is unknown when the Westons will take the stand, but Judge Stokes has given the defense proper time to interview them. Day 7 of this trial is expected to begin, which has already happened, which was today. So these people have already, one of us already testified. The boyfriends testified. They did not allow his testimony to be heard by us, the outsiders, nor have him filmed due to the salaciousness of the content of their relationship. That's interesting because a lot of people have had sex with other people and it was allowed in court to be seen, heard, camera on them, all of that. Very interesting. So now I'm just going to give you a rundown of everybody who testified today. Special Agent Robert Corley, Jacksonville Division, takes the stand. The FBI, Corley analyzed phone records for some of the individuals connected to the case to determine where they were October 4th, 5th, 2022. The state confirms with Corley that he received cell phone records for Leilani, her brother, Danny Youngkin, the boyfriend at the time, Quinton's father. Well, he's not the father, so I think that's a misprint there. The state and Corley walked the jury through the special agent's report. Defense cross-examines Corley. Next is Corley is excused FBI agent Brad Snyder takes the stand. He says he became involved in the case October 5th. Snyder says he questioned Leilani along with the Chatham County Police Department Detective Marion Lemons. Snyder says Simon's demeanor was inconsistent, erratic, emotionally shallow during questioning. Snyder explains that Melissa Bray was unable to corroborate Simon's ordeal story, a story Simon gave detectives about what she was doing the night of October 4th into the early hours, October 5th, meeting her friend Misty at the Chevron gas station to get ordeal for a toothache. Simon told law enforcement that she was in the Azalea Mobile Home Park in the early morning hours. She threw trash with pasta inside of it into the dumpsters. Then the court takes a 15-minute recess at noon. They take a lot of damn breaks, I know that. Still don't know why they have a delay. I still don't understand any of that. Okay, so now 12:28 resumes. Attorney Marty Hilliard objects to Craig and Tim Weston being added. Thank you, Carol. Thank you for the gift, sweetheart. Thank you so very much. Okay, so get back to where I was. Craig and Tim Weston being added to the witness list by the state. If the objection does not stand, Hilliard says he would like to speak with the witnesses. 12:27. Stokes says Hilliard can have the opportunity to interview the witnesses and they will not be excluded. 12:30. Snyder is back on the stand. State plays a video of Snyder's interview with Simon along with Special Agent Savannah Solomon, FBI's Savannah office. 148. Snyder says, ultimately, in regards to the ordeal story, Simon said she hadn't met Misty that night. She stated that she found the ordeal in her car. 152. Court breaks for lunch. 3 p.m. Court resumes. 3:04. Defense begins its cross-examination of Snyder. 3:08. Snyder says Youngkin agreed to let law enforcement set up recording devices in hotel room to listen in on the conversation with Simon and wiretap his phone. 3:16. Snyder says Youngkin initially said he saw Quinton the morning of October 5th and that he texted the babysitter that the kids were staying home. 3:20 p.m. Attorneys are asked to approach the bench. 3:24. Hilliard continues with his questioning. 3:25. Snyder says a pole camera was placed outside of Simon's home on Buckhalter Road for roughly 30 days. Wow, didn't know that. Isn't that something? They put a camera out on the pole on Buckhalter for 30 days, roughly. Wow, that's interesting. 3:28. After Hilliard questions Snyder about comments Simon's brother Paul made, attorneys are asked to approach the bench again. Jesus Christ, this is crazy. 3:29. Hilliard questions Snyder about various interrogation techniques. Snyder says in the interview shown they used something referred to as strategic use of evidence. 3:30. Snyder says Simon never mentioned she committed a violent act against Quinton. 3:35. Hilliard questions Snyder about the effects of the drugs Simon was taking, including Percocet, cocaine, marijuana. 3:39. Snyder's excused. The court takes a 15-minute recess. 4:02. Court resumes with the jury present. 4:04. Assistant U.S. Attorney Tim Dean, representing the state, says he has individual copies of jurors of photos of Quinton's remains as recovered from the landfill November 18th. He says he intends to submit them as evidence through FBI agent Savannah Solomon through her testimony. 4:06. Hilliard objects. He says he's concerned about handing the jury individual binders as is meant to inflame the passions of the jury. Well, that's life. People want to see what you found. That's a part of evidence to show me, the court, you found this person where you said you found him. That's a part of any court case. Whether you find a shoe, a purse, a wallet, ID, bank card, you're supposed to take a picture of where you found it. So if you found a skull, an arm, a leg, well, you're supposed to show where you found it. Stop this nonsense. There are going to be times it's going to be gruesome, of course. But that's a part of evidentiary material. It's the way it is. 4:15, the court takes 10-minute recess as Stokes decide on the exhibits. Ooh, that's what I'm saying. They take more breaks. 4:36, court resumes. Stokes rules the state needs to go back through the exhibit and pare down the images. 4:44, Stokes says the images will not be shown on TV. 4:45, the jury enters the courtroom. The state calls on Solomon, who says she became involved in the case. Day 1, October 5th, 4:49. Solomon says Youngkin was forthcoming during questioning and was defensive of Simon. That's why I said perhaps that's why he said he saw the child in the playpen, because he wanted to aid her, be there for her. Although they were not jiving, she's spreading her cookie around town. He still wanted to say, hey, I better say something because this ain't good. Whether he thought she did it or not, he defended her, I guess, because he was in a relationship with her. Who knows? Only he can answer that. Okay. 4:50. The state shows the jury the image of Simon's garage with a Mickey Mouse doll on the ground covered in cobwebs. Wow. Don't even care about the toys. Place is just filthy and nasty. It's ridiculous. A child's toy covered with cobwebs on a carport. Solomon says this was significant, and Simon said Quinton had been reported missing with his favorite Mickey Mouse toy. Now, that's something I don't remember hearing 2 years ago, that the child had the alleged toy with him. We now know that was a lie. Didn't I just tell you this? This girl is just a liar. She would be lying if the boy was still here. And this is what happens when you're dealing with people who are immature and they have not developed their head. The brain hasn't developed fully. You know, it's like a baby. Hadn't developed to term. She's a woman's body, but she's a child in the mind. Her mind was of a child. 4:54, the state shows the jury video from October 5th of Simon in the interview room. She discussed her emotional reactions. 4:56, Solomon says that day Simon told her she wanted a tattoo in honor of Quinton. Now, this is day 1 now. Come on, this is ridiculous. Was anyone yet talking about Quinton being dead? Dean asked. We suspected it within the investigative team, but it was not discussed outside of the investigative team. And I brought you this a little bit earlier in my other commentary. 5:01, Solomon says Youngkin was the one to first bring up wiretapping the hotel room. Wow, interesting. So Youngkin was the first one to bring it up. Well, that would let you know that he couldn't be involved, because why am I going to have you take the room if she says anything that would incriminate me, implicate me? Very interesting. 5:02, Solomon says the discussions between Youngkin, Simon, and the hotel room were emotional and sometimes combative. 5:05, the state plays video from the hotel room discussions. This is something that crossed my mind when I learned of this information. I thought, what if she wanted to touch him, kiss him, make out? How is that going to work? Who's going to want to have sex on a tape knowing FBI are watching? Just saying. Why did you lie to me about the ordeal? Youngkin asked. I didn't lie to you about the ordeal, Simon says. Solomon recalls a conversation she had with Simon. Solomon says she told Simon she was confident they would find Quinton's remains in the landfill. Did she tell her this because they got her on camera going there? Her car moving about, her phone at the boyfriend, at the dope dealer's house beforehand, and then after at Azalea Mobile Park. I should say yes. Damn. Solomon said she said he wasn't in a bag, but it was hard to characterize. It wasn't shot, which was the most surprising thing of it. The state shows a clip of Simon on the news. I'm not running, I'm not hiding. If something does come up that I'm at fault, I will take myself to the police station. Solomon reads a text she received from Simon on October 24th, 5:45, around the time when the news clip was shown on TV. It reads in part, I'm not lying for Danny anymore. The reason why my story about ordeal and shit didn't make sense was because Danny told me to say that he was the one that left. 5:25. The state plays a phone call between Simon and Youngkin. Solomon recalls November 18th when she was notified that a skull had been found in the landfill. The state shows a few photos. Solomon identifies the top half of a skull and a severed foot. Oh, wow. Simon is seen wiping tears away. with the tissue at 5:40 p.m. What the fuck are you crying for? All this putting on in the courtroom, lady, I've had enough of your little ass. Now, I was trying to behave, but I'm crunk now. You cried as soon as the jury came in last week. Who cries when the jury walk in the courtroom? I have lived to be 53. And of all the court cases I have seen, I ain't seen nobody, I mean nobody, cry as soon as the jury walked in the courtroom. Who does that? You didn't even let the people sit down. You started crying on cue. Camera right there. You keep wiping your eyes, chewing your fingernails. You just a dirty little bat. You crying on cue because those cameras are sitting there right in front of you. I know exactly what you're doing. And it's not working. It's not working for me. I don't know about anybody else. But it's not working for Queen. Dear God, help me. So 5:40, she's wiping away her tears. 5:48, court breaks, 15 minutes. 6:06, Hilliard starts his cross-examination of Solomon. 6:08, Hilliard asks Solomon about the Mickey Mouse toy. Here we are 2 years later, and you know that it's of no importance, and you still harp on it. Why is that? The state objects. Stokes sustains. 6:21, Hilliard asks Solomon about when she told Simon that Quinton was believed to be dead. Wow, this is crazy. I don't know what to say. Okay. So 6:21, here to ask Solomon about when she told Simon that Quinton was believed to be dead. Well, you'd been questioning her for a week, right? Do you think the emotion may have been worn off by then? Hilliard asks. Solomon says that wasn't the case for the 5 other individuals she told. 6:31. The state redirects playing a video at October 12th interview with Simon at the FBI office where she talks about the tattoo she wants to get. Solomon says it sounded like a in memoriam tattoo because the other 2 children weren't mentioned in that conversation. Exactly. Very good point. Why not get a tattoo of all your children? 6:33, Solomon excused. Stokes says court will resume 9:30 Tuesday, which was yesterday's content. So I'm recapping Monday and Tuesday for those who are curious to what I'm reading. This is all bizarre. But this is what you learn in trial. There's going to be some lying. There's going to be some souping up stuff. Babysitters testified, the young girl, the mother, the friend who talked to her on and off. Let's talk about that briefly. This is just, hold on 1 minute. I got to get a little air in here. You might hear the kids out. Kids playing sports in the background. Don't mind it. Beautiful night here in East Tennessee. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $McAngie 129 Cash App. Let's get down to it, everybody. Let's start with the babysitters. There are a lot of people who have a lot to say about what was seen and not seen. And as this woman said, I believe it was on Court TV last night, it's too late now. It's too late to say what you saw and what you heard. The baby was dirty, full of shit. Nasty onesies, this and that, no Pampers. They weren't paying the babysitter. See, what's the point now? It's helpful in court, but it's not helpful to Quinton. That's what nobody seems to understand about these true crime stories. You want to go to the news, the newspaper, YouTube, Pookie, Ray Ray. The person is dead. He's dead. He's not coming back. So hell yeah. People are going to wonder, how did you watch this long? The defense asked that babysitter, that Michelle McCarter, from January to October, that's a long time. What did she say? Oh, well, they contacted me. It doesn't matter. When did they contact you? When did they contact you, ma'am? Because everybody wants to keep talking about how good she was for Quinton, how good she was for him. I want you to think about those statements. She was good for him. How good was she? He is dead. Unless I'm missing something. The baby is dead. The other two are in foster care. So how good was this babysitter and her daughter? Pushing them down, throwing them in the water without a floaty. Remember I asked that question the other day? Well, who took him out of the water? So they took him out of the water. The kid took him out of the water. She even said something to him. You don't have to do that. So you're watching this woman abuse this kid. And I refuse to believe she didn't abuse the other ones. And something that has been tugging at me, the more I hear conversations about these babysitters, and then that other girl who testified, Miss Boone, and the other friend. Oh my God. It wasn't working out with Danny. So why didn't you have the same hatred for Sky? Help me understand. What's the difference? Come on with it, Queen, because ain't nobody listening. Baby daddy Bubba don't want you, didn't want you pregnant. You want an abortion. He didn't want the baby. Blah, 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 blah. But yet you already had a child before Quinton. Where's that baby daddy? Or is he the same baby daddy? Help me out. So you're going from one man to the other, and it ain't working. Is somebody paying attention? You're going from one baby daddy to the other. It ain't working with this one, this one, this one. Then you get with Danny. You two are at odds, getting high, getting drunk. You out here sleeping with a man old enough to be your daddy, getting high. But yet you love Sky and Zane and not Quinton. Telling the young babysitter, well, why he got to look like him and not me? I gave birth to him. See, that coincides with what the friend said, that she wanted to abort the kid. She was calling them names. So ain't no two people making that up. So the defense, you can miss me with that. Everybody's ganging up on her. No, I don't think so. Now, a lot of people can get together and say, he, she, they's a bad person. Oh, I had a bad experience with them. But we're talking about a dead kid, so that's a little bit different. Those two separate testimonies coincide with one another. They're like neck to neck. One person, she's talking about how she don't want the kid, wish she had aborted him. He acts different than the other children. He's a fucking toddler that couldn't barely walk. I'm sure. What was he doing so terrible? He wasn't even in school. He died at 20 months old. And you were talking on and off to that one friend. So what was he doing so terrible the times you were talking to her? Because he would have been even younger. Help Queen understand, because I'm confused, Leilani. He ain't doing nothing. Well, what you want him to do? Go get a job? What did you want? A 1-year-old to go get a job? You want your 1-year-old to go get a fucking job? Or score drugs for you? Help me understand. And your other children were young too. So what's so special that they were doing that Quinton wasn't doing? Help me understand, because I'm confused. And I'm trying to understand this, how you could love Sky more, but you and that baby daddy weren't getting along either. So how was that relationship different than with Bubba? Come on with it, Queen. They're the same. There was smoke in the city. And you picking and choosing which child you rather like over fucking baby daddy when you're already leaving a trail of baby daddies and it wasn't working out. So that's why this doesn't make any sense that Quinton was the oddball out. You stacking up baby daddies like damn dead bodies. Yeah, I'm keeping it real. Oh, but he looks like him. Why? What did I tell you all on the last live? Everybody should have bowed out from dealing with Leilani and Danny and Billy Joe. It was a recipe for disaster. If I give you any advice on this live stream pertaining to this subject, bow your ass out. Don't get yourself involved in stuff like this, because you can't straddle the fence. You can't be over here whispering about people. Oh, they're horrible. They're doing this to their children. Blah, 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 blah. And then you ain't doing nothing. You have to know there's going to be a D-Day, just like with the situation with Sarah Boone. Where could it have gone but downhill? It's the same situation here. Where did you think abuse was going to end up? All these stories you keep hearing of people being abused, do they usually end up a great ending? Of course not. He couldn't defend himself. He's a baby. So I wouldn't have had those children in my house, because you're straddling the fence, and it doesn't work that way. You can't have the kids in your house. You're not getting paid to keep the children. You're looking at the children being abused. You've seen the mother abuse the children, and then you're going to send the kids right back to her, and you never called 911 or DHS. How does that make any sense? Same thing with Danny. I don't give him a pass because he was an addict. So how are we going to favor one addict over the other? Empty bottles in the car. Did it not occur to you they're driving drunk with their children in the car? Come on now. He's also getting high. What did I say about that? Who was getting high first? Who turned whom on to the drugs, cocaine first? Was she getting high first? Did he meet her getting high? Or he was getting high and did he turn her on? I don't know. Who's going to tell it? Right now, he says he don't do nothing. He ain't got his child. Why you ain't got your child? You don't hear nothing about that in court. See, they'll never bring out the shit that you want to hear. Where are the other children? Who has the other kids? Why does this man not have his own kid? Checkmate. Because ain't no state going to give him no kid. Not with one landing in the landfill. Hell no. Don't matter if I got proof that he did something or not. We ain't about to give him his whole kid back. Of course not. Because you lead by example. And that's the whole point of the story. A child had to end up dead for everybody to finally wake up and come out this fog that they're in. Ain't nobody getting no child back. Not grandmama, grandpa, Paul, baby daddy, auntie, uncle, nobody. Seances. You either believe it or you don't. Oh, yeah. Defense came hard down on that young lady. But she let you know, this is what I believe in. I have the gift. You entitled to believe what you want. But they feel like she's piggybacking off of the fact that information already came out about the little boy in the landfill. And then she decided to tell the world, oh, yeah, I already knew he was there. I don't know nothing about all that. I'm not here to go on and on about it. The point is she had a rapport with the woman. They talked on and off. I feel like she was telling the truth to some degree, that the woman fell off at some point. And that happens with people. 1 minute they're talking to you, the next minute they're not. I don't think she made that up. And I don't believe she lied about what Leilani said about the little boy to her. Cursing him out, calling them names, wishing he wasn't born. Because she was telling the truth. So why would I think she lying? The boy dead, ain't he? So the babysitter said the same thing and her daughter said the same thing. And these people don't even know each other that I know of. So I think they're all telling the truth. This is jacked up. But people, you all have got to stop doing this. This testifying after the fact. Because Quinton ain't coming back. So every day you took care of that little boy and brought him in and bought him Pampers and food and this and that, you still sent him back into the lion's den. And just hearing this evidence of finding this baby's skull in a 7-foot, need I say more? Because you can best believe it would be Quinton one day and it'll be them other babies next. Because she already told the law enforcement, I get crunk when I get drunk. I'm impulsive. I get angry. So you want me to believe she's going to sit here and look at one child and say, oh, well, I hate you. I want to beat you up, suffocate you, but I ain't going to do that to my other babies. Get the fuck out of here. She was bitter and angry, period. mad at the world, mad at her life, mad at the decisions she has made. She going from baby daddy to baby daddy. She's spitting babies out like a Skittle machine. She's just an angry bitch. And when you look at her in court, you can see she's seething with bitterness. Angry as hell. And now we can see that all these folks are slumbering with each other, having sex with each other. She's sleeping with Danny. Then she over here sleeping with an older man. Ain't no telling who he's sleeping with. He probably prostituting her out for the drugs. Then she probably was sleeping with other men to get drugs. You all better wake up. Somebody probably came up short. How about that? Danny, you want to testify to that? Because I don't know how often you would having sex with Leilani, but I won't doubt that one of y'all were coming up short because she was spreading that cookie around for that dope. And now she's sitting there looking like a little miniature pig, mad at the world and talking in front of the camera. They had to go discuss that. She was moaning and moving her lips, saying something was a lie. She gonna do that. Taking notes like she in school, whispering back and forth to the defense attorneys. Oh, when I say she putting on, baby. But guess what? It don't mean nothing to me because I'm praying to God they don't let her ass out of there. Keep her there because that's where she belongs. And nobody gets a pass in my book because all of you all watched the abuse of her and Danny with those children. Look at the house itself. Come on. Outside, green swimming pool, looking like algae and fungi in the water. Fungi. Shrubs, ain't got no flower beds. Stuff thrown all about outside on the back porch. Inside, nasty. Carpet, nasty. Just filth. And this is where children were being raised. And I won't doubt she kept that little boy caged up in that playpen. How much you want to bet? That's why I was so nasty. And let's talk about that pillow that can't nobody decide if it's vomit or blood. Well, it looks like blood to me, sir. And the woman leaned over and said it smelled like vomit. So what happened, Leilani? Because that means you were allowing your child to sleep in a bed with throw up. Come on with it, Queen. Come on with it. So your baby's sleeping in a bed with throw up and you don't think to go in there and change the pillow, the linen? Because that's probably where he died. That's probably where baby Quinton died. Took his last breath, was on that pillow. You probably choked the baby or suffocated and probably put a bag over his face, something over his mouth, and he coughed up fluid, throw up, whatever you want to call it. And then you took him out of that playpen and you put him in something, because I don't think you just took him and threw him in a dumpster, because anybody could walk by a dumpster, look in, throw trash in and see there's a whole kid in there. Because there are people who go through dumpsters and look through stuff. And you know that'd be too risque, throwing a whole child in a dumpster. So I'm going to ask you, how did you kill your baby, ma'am? And how did you discard him, ma'am? And it doesn't shock me that she would throw Danny Youngkin under the bus, because that's what they do. When they realize they've exhausted all measures, the perpetrator, they have to now invite somebody else as a culprit. That's why he told the FBI, oh, you can tape us. I'm going to clear that right on up. You can tape us. She ain't about to hoodwink me into no murder charge. This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Because I won't doubt she would have hurt her other children because she's bitter. She's absolutely bitter. 1 second, everybody. Check something right quick. Court's going to resume tomorrow. Sarah Boone and Leilani Simon. Feel free to go back to the beginning of this live for the replay of Sarah Boone. She has testified. And she's given her rendition What do you believe pertaining to Sarah Boone? What do you believe? Did she do it out of cold malice? She wanted payback? What happened? 1 second, everybody. I'm going to drop the link in case somebody wants to join the Queen. I've been live 1 hour, 14 minutes. I don't want to continue talking, but I just want to briefly recap the people who have testified. Hold on 1 second. Boy, it's a great night here. You're welcome, Billy. Hello, everybody in the chat. If you want to give your opinion pertaining to Sarah Boone, Leilani Simon, this case, feel free to hit the link. I haven't dropped the link in a while, so I want to give people a chance to give their opinion pertaining to this nonsense, because that's exactly what it is. It's absolutely just vile. How do you all think the jury is going to weigh in both cases? Will 12 members of the jury find Sarah Boone not guilty or guilty? Did she deliberately lure him into the suitcase, left him there to die, Mr. Jorge Torres Jr.? Leilani Simon. How did she murder her child? Where did she murder her child in that house? How did she dispose of her child in the dumpster? And should she have taken a plea? Because I think the common sense thing to do, once you realize the ordeal story wasn't working, they had your ass. So to still play along and then text the FBI agent, oh, it's Danny, it's this. Girl, bye. Why ride this donkey ride? Have people sit up there on the witness stand and talk about you like a dog, talk about how you hated your kids and talk bad about your kid. Why allow it? She doesn't care. Just don't care. What did the dope dealer boyfriend say in the court? Lover. I'd like to know. What did he admit to? Did he admit he had feelings for her, or it was just sex? It was just drugs? Or what did the other person testify to? The one with the same last name? I'm curious. And how does he feel? They offered him immunity. Look at this crazy story here. A woman allegedly killed man with gunshot to groin after he jokingly asked her to shoot him. Well, this sounds like a Jorge Sarah Boone story. Older version. Sweet Jesus, give me strength. The link is in the chat. If you'd like to just give your public opinion pertaining to Sarah Boone and Leilani Simon, hit the link. Thank you for your time. This is the first live for today. Check out my community page for said polls and updates pertaining to Sean Puffy Combs, Sarah Boone, Leilani Simon, other breaking news, and also follow me on the Newsbreak app, where you will get notifications of my posts and me commenting on various articles. They are very diligent about their notifications, so feel free to follow me over there on the Newsbreak app. Put in your location and you will get breaking news in your area. Thank you. Got a few of you in the chat. Nobody has anything they want to say about Leilani Simon? No, I'm not. I've worked in the healthcare profession, but no, I'm not a nurse. What will this jury say? I do believe they became emotional when the FBI agent described what they found out in the landfill pertaining to the child. I can't imagine. Naturally, those pictures were not shown to us, outsiders. But that would have to be a horrible picture to see a skull, a piece of a skull of a child, and a foot 1 month later in a landfill. And you know how nasty a landfill is, a garbage can is. So naturally things will deteriorate quickly because of the dirt and grime and sloth inside of a dumpster. Landfill, sweet Jesus. Poor baby. Beautiful baby, beautiful smile. So Leilani, let me talk to you for just a second. What is it about this child you hated? I'm confused. Why'd you hate this kid? Because you already had a string of baby daddies, so what's the problem? You and daddy weren't getting along. You giving your cookie away to another man. So obviously you two were not getting along, and you making these old fake videos like you're going to go kill yourself, but you didn't go in the river. You didn't take your children to the river. Another Susan Smith. Oh, I want to kill myself. But she only killed her kids. We got an update pertaining to Susan Smith too. She's done something pertaining to trying to gain money for her story or some nonsense, and she's been reprimanded. And she's supposed to be coming up for parole November 4th, I think, 4th or 5th. We will see what happens. Praying for justice as well. Justice for Quinton Simon. Where's the grandmother? Where is she? I haven't heard anything about Miss Happy Feet. You're not running around YouTube spreading the good news, are you? There's nothing to talk about. Because you spawned these two demons, your son and daughter. Both have been accused of murdering a human life, taking a life. One's incarcerated and one's standing trial. State of Georgia. Leilani Simon. You have definitely failed your children, man. But what are the odds of a person producing two murders? Two. 1 moment, everybody. Got a brief call. Hold on. Hello? All right. Now my brother's sitting here calling me with some damn drama. See what I'm saying? I can't even do a live stream good. Here we go with this. Everybody want to get started. Excuse my manners. And then gonna got the nerve to hang up. Well, hang up. Don't call me with no foolishness. See, the devil busy. Everywhere the devil is busy. Well, that's the latest I have pertaining to Sarah Boone and Leilani Simon. That's the latest I have. All I want to say is this, because I'm not going to hold you all, since nobody wants to come up and talk. If you see something, please say something. Don't sit around like these people did and watch a child or children be abused, not being properly fed, eaten. Don't do that. Because all somebody had to do was call the police and just say, hey, their children are not eating, not being fed, they're being abused, being pushed down, hurt, talked down to, whatever you witness. And I get it. You don't want to be involved because you don't want to later have to go to court and testify. But the point is, you don't want to end up in the courtroom testifying about a dead kid. This ain't what you want. Because you may not want to go to court and testify in the DHS court and then worry about being the neighbor or them retaliating, because these people act like they crazy. Billy Joe acting like a bully. But guess what? What they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Exactly. She can lay down too. And you can best believe she's somewhere running around, hiding in a hole like a squirrel. Ain't no intimidation now. Ain't no taunt nobody now. Because guess what? She can get in that jail just like her daughter, because that's really where she belongs. Because she's the one who had custody of the children. And that's been mentioned also on TV. What about her? Because she needs to stand account as well. She had custody of 2 of those kids. And we need to know why she had custody. Why did she ask for custody? Go get custody. What was the arrangement about? And why are we now talking about a dead baby? That needs to be addressed. Sarah Boone, what will 12 members of a jury say? Do you believe she was a battered woman? Did she fear for her life from Mr. Torres? Did she deliberately ask him to get in that suitcase? Or as she said, he asked to get in it. They joked around, but then she realized, oh, I got him where I want him. Let's play some funny games. Did she deliberately taunt him, walk out from that suitcase, and left him to die? I do believe she's a numb creature. I do believe she was fed up with Mr. Torres. I believe she had had enough of him. I don't agree with her method, because the safest bet is to walk away from an abusive relationship, because you should know the longer you stay in it, the worse it will become. There is no changing. Only God can change the spirit of man or woman. And that's where she messed up. She stayed too long. And I will say the same for the dead man. He stayed too long. Either one should have bowed out, but they did not. Same thing with this Mr. Youngkin. You saw things were not working out with Miss Leilani, and you stayed anyway. Same with her. She should have left. One of you should have left the relationship. See, it's all the same. Each one is tumultuous where somebody ended up dead. Checkmate. When all somebody had to do was bow out. So what will 12 members of a jury say for Sarah Boone? Yay or nay? Will they believe she was battered? She feared for her safety? Because either way, he was going to be angry in that suitcase, wanting out. In fact, they said she beat his hand with a bat. Some will say, well, now it's showing you have contempt for the victim. You definitely didn't want him to get out of that suitcase. Did she turn him upside down, roll him around to torture him, make him sick? Now imagine that, getting dizzy inside of a suitcase. Also, you can't breathe. Boy, that's cold. It's cold either way. Rather the suitcase stay flat the whole time. But just imagine a person pushing you up, pushing you down, rolling you around, and then lying you flat to suffocate. Did she leave him in that suitcase deliberately? She said she did not. She did not expect for him to die. But if you walked away, you had to know he would suffocate to death. Did she give him CPR the next day? Probably not. But she's got to say that because she's in a court of law and she's fighting for her life. Some feel like she should have taken the deal that the state offered her, but she refused. Should she have taken the deal? Weigh in. Weigh in. Should she have taken that deal? Same thing with Leilani. Should she have asked the state for a deal? And I don't know what laws they have on the books as far as children down in Florida, in Georgia. But I know here in Tennessee, anything dealing with child sex abuse, and death, you can face the death penalty. So do you believe she should get the death penalty for the murder of Quinton Simon? And what should happen to Sarah Boone? What fate should she face for leaving the boyfriend in the suitcase? What a story. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below this video. Go to my community page. Answer the questions, polls. Let's see what I have over there for just a second. Something I want to look at right quick. Said they're both guilty. Okay, well. Who are you talking about? Leilani and Danny? Two hours ago, I posted, looking at that suitcase in court was scary. Why did Jorge climb in? It's hard to imagine a human inside of it, even if the person is petite. Let's be truthful. There was going to be a D-Day between the two because of the continued violence. It just ended with him dying in a suitcase. I'm still baffled that Leilani didn't feel contempt for Danny's daughter. No homicide tendencies towards her, considering they didn't get along. How do you feel about Sarah Boone's testimony today? 53% of you said deliberate homicide, no remorse. 22% tried to teach him a lesson but didn't intend to kill him. 25% of you said you're not sure. So most of you do believe that it was a deliberate homicide and she has no remorse. Who wants a house where a baby was murdered anyway? Why would anyone want to be in that house? Stay woke, everybody. Billy Joe Howell, your pool is nasty. Outside shrubs were a hot mess. No flower beds, no life, just like you and your brood. Damn lifeless creatures sucking up free oxygen that someone else could be using, like baby Quinton. And I also complained about the judge sending everybody out every damn 5 minutes for breaks, so on and so forth. Leilani chewing on her nails, disgusting bat. And what did I say the other day? 10 hours. Sick of these damn breaks and video delay. What do you all think of Miss Sarah Boone testifying on her own behalf? One day ago, looking at Leilani in court is most definitely looking at an ice queen. She has no emotions. She's cold and heartless. And what's even more crazy is she favors my baby sister, if you all can imagine that. Under the Bridge is my TV series. I recommended it yesterday. 8 episodes now free on Hulu. Halloween from 2018 is my movie suggestion for the week. Those are my suggestions right now. Okay, let me call my brother because I'm getting ready to wear his ass out right now. Okay, because I'm sick of nonsense. Everybody got drama. Thank you all for your time. God bless all of you. I'll be back with more stimulating content, commentary. Follow me on the Newsbreak app. Drop your comments below this video. And also answer the poll on my community page pertaining to Leilani Simon and Sarah Boone. You all have a wonderful week. God bless all of you. You have been listening to The Vault Exhale. Thank you.